Somewhere in a quiet room in Tokyo, an old woman is talking to something that is not human. It listens to her, it remembers her stories, and it never gets tired of her voice. She smiles at it the way she used to smile at her children. But her children stopped visiting months ago, and the machine never leaves. This is not science fiction anymore. This is happening right now, in 2026, in homes across Japan, China, and the United States. Robots are learning to care for the elderly. Machines are being designed to carry pregnancies, and artificial companions are replacing human conversation for millions of people. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly how far this has already gone, and you will have to ask yourself one uncomfortable question. Are we slowly making human beings unnecessary to each other? Before we go further, if you want to see where this technology is truly headed, hit subscribe right now, because what I am about to show you will change the way you think about family, love, and connection. Let's begin. For decades, caregiving was something only a human could do. A mother fed her child, a nurse held a dying patient's hand, a daughter sat beside her aging father. That role required patience, empathy, and presence that machines were never expected to replicate. Today, that assumption is being tested in real hospitals and real homes. In Japan, the population is aging faster than almost any country on Earth, and there simply are not enough young caregivers left to look after the elderly. Companies have responded by building humanoid robots designed specifically for this crisis. Machines like Pepper, NAO, and newer models such as the Fourier GR-3 are being placed inside nursing homes to talk with residents, monitor their health, and lead group activities. These robots do not get exhausted. They do not lose patience, and they are available every single hour of the day. In South Korea, a robot companion called Humanoid has already been placed inside more than 10,000 homes, powered by conversational AI similar to ChatGPT. In New York, a robot named ElliQ has reportedly reduced loneliness among elderly users by a staggering 95% in pilot programs. These are not small experiments anymore. They are becoming real infrastructure. Governments in China have even begun requiring companies to test hundreds of these robots inside real families for months at a time. One of the most advanced examples comes from a university lab in Tokyo, where scientists built a caregiving robot designed specifically to lift elderly patients, change their position in bed, and even help with tasks as intimate as dressing them. In demonstrations, the robot gently slides its padded fingers under a person's shoulder and knee, rolling them from their back onto their side with careful, deliberate motion. It can also assist with putting on socks or changing diapers, tasks once considered far too delicate and human for any machine to handle. Researchers admit the robot still struggles with small details, sometimes failing to locate a foot correctly unless it is positioned at just the right angle, proof that this technology is powerful but still far from perfect. Nursing home managers who have tested these robots describe the stakes as incredibly high. Feeding an elderly patient requires giving a specific amount of food at a specific pace, because even a small mistake could cause someone to choke. This means every one of these machines is operating in a space where a single error is not just inconvenient, it can be fatal. And yet, despite these risks, robots are still being pushed toward hospitals and care homes because the alternative, a growing population with no one left to care for them, feels even more dangerous to ignore. The eldercare robot industry is no longer a niche experiment. It has become a multi-billion-dollar market, growing at a rapid pace every single year. Investors have poured tens of millions of dollars into companies building these companions, and new models are being announced at technology conferences almost every few months. Some of these robots cost close to $100,000, placing them far out of reach for an average family, while cheaper tabletop versions are being marketed directly to lonely seniors living alone. This is no longer a question of if robots will enter caregiving, it is only a question of how deep that integration will eventually go. On the surface, this looks like progress. Fewer people dying alone, fewer overworked human caregivers, more consistent attention for the elderly. But researchers at MIT have warned about something they call techno solutionism, the idea that instead of paying human caregivers fairly or fixing broken healthcare systems, society simply replaces the problem with a machine. The danger is not the robot itself. The danger is what we stop investing in once the robot exists. There is also a quieter, more uncomfortable concern hiding inside these machines, and it has nothing to do with their mechanical arms. Many of these robots are equipped with cameras and microphones running constantly inside people's bedrooms and bathrooms, recording some of the most private moments of a person's life. Privacy experts warn that an elderly person getting dressed, bathing, or simply existing in their most vulnerable state could now be captured by a device connected to a corporate server somewhere far away. We are so focused on whether the robot can physically help someone that we rarely stop to ask who else might be watching through its eyes. And caregiving is only the beginning. In 2025, a Chinese company called Kaiwa Technology shocked the world by announcing plans for something almost unimaginable, a humanoid robot with an artificial womb built into its body. The idea was simple and disturbing at the same time, a machine that could carry a pregnancy from start to finish and give birth to a human child. The company claimed the technology could be ready within a year, priced at under $14,000, cheaper than many cars. Videos spread across Chinese social media showing chrome-plated robotic bodies with human babies curled inside their abdomens. Some people online called it liberation for women who no longer wanted to endure pregnancy. Others called it the beginning of the end for something deeply human. The reaction online was immediate and split right down the middle. One commenter said women had finally been liberated from a burden they never asked for. Another said they would buy the machine instantly if it cost half of their annual salary. Within hours, videos discussing the robot had racked up thousands of comments, turning a scientific announcement into one of the most emotionally charged debates on Chinese social media that year. Scientists were quick to push back. Artificial womb technology does exist, but only in a very limited form, mostly used to help premature babies survive outside the human body for a few extra weeks. Actually growing a human being from fertilization all the way to birth inside a machine remains far beyond what current science can achieve. Experts have openly questioned whether this technology is even close to real or whether it is mostly hype designed to go viral. A researcher at Yale University who studies the placenta was asked directly whether humanity should even attempt to build something like this. His answer was blunt. He said his response would categorically be no. At the same time, he admitted that thinking through the challenge intellectually forces us to appreciate just how complex and miraculous a normal pregnancy actually is, something we rarely stop to think about until a machine tries to replace it. Even the existing limited version of this technology raises questions science has never had to answer before. If a fetus is growing inside a machine instead of a human body, is it still legally the same as a pregnancy, or does it become something entirely new? Some researchers have started using the term gestataling to describe this in-between state. Neither a fetus inside a womb nor a newborn breathing air on its own. That single word could end up reshaping decades of law around parental rights, personhood, and even the abortion debate itself, because removing the human body from the equation could sever the argument that a pregnancy is inseparable from bodily autonomy. But here is the uncomfortable part. Even if this exact robot never becomes real, the desire behind it already exists. People are already searching for ways to remove the human body, human relationships, and human dependency from the most intimate parts of life. And that desire does not stop at pregnancy, it extends into something even more common, love and companionship itself. Right now, millions of people are turning to AI chatbots not for information, but for emotional connection. They are having conversations with AI companions that remember their birthdays, respond to their sadness, and never argue back. For some lonely people, this feels like a lifeline. For researchers watching closely, it feels like a warning sign. Human relationships are messy on purpose. They require compromise, disappointment, forgiveness, and effort. An AI companion offers none of that friction. It simply agrees, comforts, and adapts to whatever the user wants to hear. Psychologists worry that as more people choose the easier, frictionless version of connection, they may slowly lose the patience required for real human relationships. This is not limited to lonely elderly people sitting alone in a quiet room. It is spreading rapidly among young people who have grown up with a phone in their hand. Teenagers and young adults are increasingly turning to AI chat companions instead of talking to friends or family about their problems, because the machine is always available and never judges them. Some describe these AI relationships as more comforting than their real ones, precisely because a chatbot never gets tired, never gets busy, and never brings its own bad day into the conversation. That last part sounds appealing on the surface, but it is also exactly what worries so many psychologists watching this trend unfold. A real relationship forces you to consider another person's needs even when you do not feel like it. And that discomfort is where empathy and maturity are actually built. When every interaction is designed to keep you comfortable and engaged, you never have to develop the skills required to repair an argument, tolerate disappointment, or sit with someone else's pain. Some researchers now describe this as a slow erosion of emotional tolerance, where an entire generation grows more fluent at talking to machines than at navigating the ordinary friction of loving another human being. It is not that AI companionship is evil by itself, it is that it quietly trains us to expect relationships without cost. And real relationships were never supposed to be free. Think about what all three of these technologies have in common: the caregiving robot, the pregnancy machine, and the AI companion. Each one solves a real and painful human problem: loneliness, infertility, or lack of care. But each one also quietly removes a human being from a role that used to require another human being. Piece by piece, the most personal parts of life are being outsourced to machines. Supporters argue this is simply progress, no different from washing machines replacing manual laundry or calculators replacing mental math. They say technology has always taken over difficult tasks, and caregiving or companionship should be no exception. If a robot can reduce suffering, ease loneliness, or give an infertile couple a child, why should tradition stand in the way? Critics argue this comparison misses something essential. A washing machine never needed to love you back. Caregiving, pregnancy, and companionship are not just tasks to be completed efficiently. They are relationships built on shared vulnerability between two human beings. Once you remove the human from one side of that relationship, critics ask, is it still the same thing at all? Or have we created a comfortable imitation of something we used to call human connection? Feminist scholars in China went even further after the pregnancy robot announcement, warning that outsourcing childbirth to a machine could eventually be remembered as the beginning of the end of women's traditional role in reproduction altogether. Medical researchers raised a separate but equally serious concern, worried that treating pregnancy as a purely mechanical process ignores risks we do not yet understand, from hormonal development to the emotional bond formed before birth. Legal experts in China are already debating how to regulate this technology before it exists, discussing everything from parental rights to the possibility of a black market for artificial womb machines. When lawmakers start writing rules for a device before it is even built, it is a clear sign that society already senses how disruptive this could become. The same pattern repeats across every technology in this video. Someone identifies a real, painful problem, a lack of caregivers, a lack of fertility, a lack of connection, and builds a machine to solve it. The solution works well enough that people start relying on it, and slowly the human alternative becomes less necessary, less funded, or less practiced. Nobody wakes up one morning having decided to replace human relationships with machines. It happens gradually, one convenient robot and one comforting chatbot at a time, until the change is already behind us instead of ahead of us. There is no clear answer yet, And that is exactly what makes this moment in history so important. The decisions being made right now, in labs in China, in nursing homes in Japan, in AI companies training chatbots to sound more human, will shape what human relationships even mean for the next generation. We are not just building better machines, we are quietly redefining what it means to need another person at all. So here is the real question this video started with. Are humans becoming unnecessary to each other, replaced piece by something more convenient, more patient, and more available? Or are we simply building tools that finally give overworked caregivers, lonely elders, and desperate parents a little bit of relief? Maybe the answer depends on how far we let this go from here. If you found this video eye-opening, make sure you subscribe, because the next chapter of this story is moving faster than most people realize. Turn on notifications so you never miss what comes next. Drop your honest opinion in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.